entered the age of the reassessment. Oh, yes. Just last week on the Deep Fat Fried channel, me and my co-hosts Scotty and Paul looked at an article called Bill Hicks Was a Bit Misogynist. Young Comics Reassess the Stand-Up Legend. This article consisted of new SJW comics who have not made a name for themselves in any substantive way, reassessing Bill Hicks and finding his material to be sexist mansplaining that punches down. Never mind that Bill Hicks was one of the most up-punching comedians in history. Never mind that he was critical of nearly every facet of culture and in no way singled out any one group for scapegoating. Never mind the truth. We must reassess. We must reassess. And the reassessment process invariably, unfavorably reflects people and figures of the past. It's always devoid of context. It always holds the past to the standards of the present, as if that's even remotely intellectually honest. We've seen John Lennon reassessed from a brilliant singer-songwriter who stood for peace. He was reassessed to a wife beater who neglected his son. Oh, he's only as good as the worst shit he ever did. Fuck all those accomplishments. Fuck his impact on culture. He was a mean guy sometimes. We've seen classic Christmas tunes like Baby It's Cold Outside reassessed into rape anthems. What the fuck? We've seen foundational benchmark films like Dirty Harry reassessed into racist propaganda. And today I became aware of the strangest reassessment yet. Lorena Bobbitt, the woman who famously chopped off her husband's penis as he slept on the night of June 23rd, 1993, she is now being reassessed as a victim. It's produced by Jordan Peele and released to Amazon Video on February 15th. The 4-part docuseries Lorena is, according to Amazon, a groundbreaking reinvestigation of the deep moral issues and painful human tragedies buried at the heart of this infamous American scandal. Lost in the tabloid coverage and jokes was the opportunity for a national discussion on domestic and sexual assault in America. So because this shit happened in 1993, maybe some of you haven't heard of it. It was a really big story at the time. Every late night talk show had a joke about it. Every radio DJ was still making fucking Lorena Bobbitt jokes 5 to 10 years after it happened. There's probably still radio guys making Lorena fucking Bobbitt jokes. It was the sort of lurid tabloidal event that the media drooled over in the 90s. And to some extent, they still do. This docu-series wouldn't be happening. All this is the same tabloidal garbage classed up a little bit, filtered through the moors of, current social trends and shit. So the event itself, according to Lorena Bobbitt, who now goes by Lorena Gallo, goes something like this. Her husband, John Wayne Bobbitt, who was an abusive husband who constantly beat, bullied, and raped her, returned home drunk one night and raped her, as he often did. Then he fell asleep. Later, she went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. What could be more innocent than that? When she happened to see a knife on the counter. And then she blacked out. Where am I? Oh my God, I'm in my car, holding my husband's penis in my hands that I've severed from his body. And then she threw it into a field near a 7-Eleven and called the police and confessed what she had done. The police showed up, they found the penis, they hilariously put it in a hot dog box from 7-Eleven, and after a 9-hour surgery, the penis was successfully reattached to Mr. Bobbitt. Okay? So John's version of events is a little different. He claims he was never abusive, and that the reason Lorena chopped his dick off was not because he raped her, but because he was planning on leaving her. She flew into a jealous rage and chopped off his dick in the night. From there on, the story is the same. 7-Eleven, hot dog box, surgery, he's fine. What ensued after that was a big media firestorm wherein everyone in America had John Wayne Bobbitt's severed penis on their lips. It was all anyone could talk about. John Wayne Bobbitt's dick it had so much star power that he actually appeared in at least two pornos. John Wayne Bobbitt Uncut, very clever, and John Wayne Bobbitt's Frankenpenis. Less clever, but more fun. I think it says something both great and horrible about America, that getting your dick chopped off can be kind of a big career move, you know? And of course, John Wayne Bobbitt's dick was the primary focus of the salacious, round-the-clock coverage, that we're so used to. As the New York Times bemoans in a recent article they published promoting the Amazon docuseries, which, by the way, if you write an article promoting a docuseries, aren't you really just an advertisement for that and not an actual article? Something to think about, maybe. They always just focused on it, as in her husband's detached and reattached, and then a couple of years later, surgically kind of enlarged penis. That was all the media before the Women's March and the Me Too movement, when we were all less evolved as humans, wanted to talk about. And it's like they all missed or didn't care why I did what I did, she said. It's Lorena Bobbitt talking there. The line that really jumped out at me was when the New York Times said that before the Me Too movement and before the Women's March, we were less evolved. You know, New York Times thinks we've evolved so dramatically in the last 26 years, apparently. But I don't know if I can bring myself to agree. In fact, I think there's a compelling case to be made for the way we've actually sort of regressed. Because whether Lorena's version of events is true or John's version of events is true, there's a fundamental truth that we seem to understand in 1993 that we don't seem to understand in 2019. And that fundamental truth is this: cutting off someone's penis is wrong, and it's unjustifiable. The Amazon doc takes Lorena's side, and in reframing the issue to be about domestic abuse pushing a woman to the edge, they've made it seem as if what she did was somehow okay and justifiable. This is the sort of thinking, that you get Sharon Osbourne cackling on national TV about a similar case where a woman chopped off her husband's penis and threw it in a garbage disposal. That's why in numerous social experiments, people will come to the aid of an abused woman but laugh at an abused man. It's all part of a system that views males as disposable. It's funny when we're hurt, it's funny when we're mutilated, and we probably deserved it. I wish I could tell you that this notion of male disposability is just the result of the culture. But I think it'd be dishonest to make that claim, because the truth that we males probably don't want to come to terms with is that we are biologically built to be more disposable than women. We don't live as long. When there's a war, we're the ones who are sent out to go die or kill in the name of our nation. And by the way, the people we're killing, mostly other men. When there's a dangerous job, men are the ones, by and large, who do it. Logging is the most dangerous job in America. 96% of them are men. The second most dangerous job in America is commercial fishermen. That job is also 96% male. Pilots, roofers, garbage men, iron and steel workers, truck drivers, all of these jobs with high death rates are male-dominated. In 2015, 93% of workplace deaths in America were men. It's 93, like a 9, followed by a 3. We're in, not only, like, women are in single digits of workplace deaths. Their jobs are nice and safe. Women are capable of doing these jobs. There's female loggers, there's female fishermen. There's not that many. And we can argue all day about cultural reasons for why this is so. And I'm sure there are innumerable cultural factors. But I'm interested, as I said moments ago, in the biological reasons why this might be so. So let's think about why nature itself might view men as more disposable than women with a simple bit of math that even idiots like you and me can understand. So let's say there's a big cataclysm. Let's say that a horrible event leaves countless people dead, and humanity is now faced with the task of rebuilding society and repopulating the world. Which group of survivors is going to be more successful in repopulation efforts? A group of 100 men and 1 woman? Or a group of 100 women and 1 man? I know that such a demographic lopsidedness is unlikely, but you can immediately see the answer, right? 1 fertile man can impregnate 100 fertile women and produce 100 offspring in short order. Society is well on its way to recovery at that point. The group with 100 men and 1 woman, first of all, they're all going to kill each other trying to decide who gets to be the guy who's going to go carry on the species. But even once that's decided, she can only bear 1 child at a time. I mean, for, twins maybe, or triplets, but probably only 1. That group is going nowhere fast unless they can get some women. There's a reason why when it comes time for the small village to send the troops off to fight in the big war, they send the men. Because even if 90% of those men never return, the 10% that do can have the village right as rain in a generation or 2. If 90% of the women die, that rate of recovery isn't possible. And I'm not saying that's the explicit reason why we do these things. I'm not saying people are sitting around making this calculation. I'm just saying this is something innate that's wired into us by the machinations of nature. The female praying mantis eats her mate after he impregnates her because by the cold logic of its nature, he's done his job. He's now more useful as a protein source. In many species of animals, lions, elephant seals, gorillas, and tons more, only the alpha male gets to reproduce with the huge territory of females that he controls. The rest of the males in the area slink away to die as nothing more than genetic dead ends. Or they hang around on the edge of society hoping to mate with a female while the alpha's attention is diverted. If a male wants to become the new alpha, he has to defeat the current alpha and take the territory. The females of the species are attracted to his brute strength and his fighting prowess and the abundance of resources the territory that he has secured for himself has. There are other mating systems in nature, obviously. Nature doesn't limit itself to one strategy. But across the spectrum of wildlife, it's almost always males vying for females, not the other way around. Human society is more complex than any animal society by most meaningful metrics. But our viewpoint of male disposability still seems to be very much in effect to this day. This is evidenced by the fact of the soldiers. They're by and large men. Workplace deaths, mostly men. Suicides, mostly men. Homelessness, mostly experienced by men. Opioid overdoses, men. Most murder victims are men. And our society refuses to take a look at this. Our society labels anyone who talks about this a men's rights activist, which is completely maligned as a term at this point, whereas feminism and female issues dominate mainstream discourse and popular culture. In 1993, when a woman cut off her husband's dick, we laughed at him. And that was bad. But now, 26 years later, we're outright vilifying him, victim blaming him, coming up with reasons why he got what he deserved, and we're holding up his attacker as a sympathetic figure who is herself the real victim. But in 1993, would we have laughed if a husband mutilated his wife's genitals as she slept? Nah, don't think so. The nation would have reacted the same way they'd react now, in horror. And if that had happened in 1993, then in 2019, would we be now excusing his behavior on the basis of trying to make a case for why his wife deserved the attack? I don't think so. Obviously, gender issues are a source of great confusion and tension in 2019. And in the history of the human animal, we can find centuries of female subjugation. And even today, women do face issues that are unique to women. And women should be listened to and taken seriously. And the good news is that in a lot of ways now they are. But our society has yet to evolve to the point where male disposability has been seriously challenged in the mainstream political culture or the social discourse. Yet, we've yet to evolve to the point where society can admit, in the face of overwhelming hard data, that being a man is not a privilege, but a burden. And it's a burden that at its core means that when you're a man, you're garbage. No one cares if you die, overseas fighting a war, or if a tree falls on your head at work. No one cares if you kill yourself. No one cares if you're homeless, or if you overdose, or if you can't see your kids, or if you get your dick chopped off while you're asleep. The attitude is either that it's your obligation to suffer those fates, or that you deserve it. I'm the Amazing Atheist. Peace the fuck out. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel, hit the alert bell, check out my other channel, Deep Fat Fried, with my co-hosts Paul and Scotty. Subscribe to that, hit that fucking alert bell. How about that? How about you do that?